Yeah, my presentation is just a little bit slow to start.
No, that's perfect. We can see it there now.
Wonderful.
Sarah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Well, welcome everyone. My name is Sarah Geraghty, for those of you that I haven't met before, and I'm joined by the school liaison team, who you probably know: Caroline Duggan, Ailish Carr, Gráinne Dunn, and Eilish Ní are all on this call, and my colleagues will be helping me to take questions as they come along with their expertise in different areas. So just a little bit of housekeeping to start. If I could ask you to perhaps, while we're doing some of the presentations, to turn off your microphones, and that will just ensure that we have good sound quality for everybody. At the end of each presentation, we'll stop for a couple of minutes and take time for questions, and then please feel free to turn on your cameras, turn on your microphones. We'd love to see you, love to hear from you. If questions are occurring to you as presentations are underway, feel free to pop them into the chat on the side, and the presenters will be able to take them as they're coming in, or maybe refer to them at the end. Just to mention that this presentation, or this webinar, is being recorded, and it will be made available to any guidance counsellor who wasn't able to join us, or equally, if there's any session that you want to go back on, if you missed any of the detail, you'll have this whole webinar available to you if you want to go back and check detail, and that will be available from next week. So I have a few slides just to, as a little bit of an introduction, give you a broad update from NUI Galway, and our agenda today will include mostly briefings from our colleagues across campus, program directors and program coordinators from our new courses, new subjects, and in some cases new streams. So the bulk of our afternoon will be focused on these new developments, and Eilish Ní will be giving a preview of the virtual open day in about an hour's time also. So my initial slides are just a gentle introduction, and then we'll be handing over to Tom Fell, the Head of Discipline of Journalism and Communication, at 2:10, so in just a few short minutes. So I thought it might be interesting to start with a really brief reflection on the very challenging cycle that we've all had, and that the students have had, and that you've had, and to give you an overview of where NUI Galway now sits at the end of that cycle. So NUI Galway has almost 3,500 students registered for year one, and that would be quite higher than the usual. We normally would have somewhere between 3,200, 3,300 students coming into first year. And that's a reflection, as you know, on the predicted grades, and also on, I guess, the whole sector, all the institutions making every effort to admit as many students as possible and ensure that as many students were facilitated on their course of choice, and to avoid as much disappointment as possible. And there's lots of consequences of that high intake for the university, and one of them is that we saw a lot of our courses increasing in their CAO cutoff points, 7% of the portfolio, and many of those courses increasing, or their cutoff points were quite a bit higher than the previous year. So we're very conscious of the students for 2021, and we'll be doing our best to manage their expectations about CAO cutoff points for 2021, and helping to manage some of the anxiety around that. And we'll do that through our open days and our information sessions. Another consequence of that high intake and the high grades achieved is that we've had an unprecedented level of students who will be eligible now to receive the Excellence Scholarship. So the number of students eligible for that has actually nearly doubled. So that is going to be very exciting for all of those, and the university will honour all of those scholarships. And the recipients will be notified in the coming week or so about the payments and about the timeline on that. I'm getting quite a bit of feedback. I might just ask if anybody has their mic on, that they might turn it off. Thank you. Great. And just to mention that, there's a lot of activity happening on campus, and happening for students by the university, the Students' Union, the Student Support Services, to ensure that first year students have the most positive and engaging time possible and year possible, but it is a challenge. Now my PowerPoint has just stopped there, so if you just bear with me a moment and I'll try and move on to the next slide. Oh, there we go. I had just put up some of the initiatives, including the first 6 weeks initiative, which is the 6 weeks induction, a walking initiative by the Students' Union, a free text line for any students who want somebody to chat to or might be feeling lonely, the virtual societies and clubs fair, and this will all continue through the semester. But you know, we do know that it's very hard for the first years. They've are having a very difficult year, but we're doing our best through all of these initiatives to make them feel as included and as engaged as possible. But I guess we want to turn our attention to the students of 2021 in today's webinar. We'll be talking through the particular or the specific course and new subjects and streams throughout the session. But just to mention on one slide, what are the key changes for next year? 2 new courses, the BSc in Agricultural Science, the BA Global Media. GY 101 Joint Honours has 2 new streams, Global Media and Visual Arts. And a new stream will become available in GY 501 Medicine, a physicianeer stream. And we will have a briefing by Professor Derek O'Keefe on this later, and I think it'll be hugely of interest to your medicine students who have an interest in maths and are strong at maths. A couple of changes to courses. The 3 children's studies degrees now have 1 CAO code, GY 110. However, when the student is choosing it for their CAO, they will be asked to identify which of those 3 streams they're interested in. The GY 104 in psychology is now a 4-year degree with a placement and is now a BSc qualification. It was previously a BA. And finally, GY 136 BA Snadona Lanchanga is replacing GY 107. So that's just a quick snapshot of the changes for 2021. Now, I'm conscious of time, so I'm going to flick forward really quickly to tell you about some of the initiatives from the student recruitment side that might be of interest to you and your students. I hope you've had an opportunity to book in a school visit, albeit mostly virtually this time of year or this year. And if not, please feel free to drop your name into the chat there, and we will follow up with you after this call to arrange a virtual school visit. I hope you know we have our open day on Saturday, the 24th of October. More than ever, it's very important for students to pre-register. They have to build a profile on the event platform. So unlike previous years where a student could just, land up to the Bailey Allen and sign in, it's a little bit more complicated this year, and therefore registering in advance is very important. So please encourage your students to do so. And also to mention, we have some CAO information evenings for Leaving Certs, for parents, and for yourselves taking place in November and December. And these are subject-specific information evenings. So this will get into more detail and more discussion for serious students who have identified the subject or a career area of interest. And we have a few new student recruitment resources that might be of interest to your students. So we're really going to miss out this year on the face-to-face engagement that your students can have with our current students and with our lecturers. And so to bridge that gap, we have a couple of new initiatives that you might like to share with your students. The CAO Hub includes some dynamic content, including videos of where students can explore different subject areas. We have a series of new podcasts, 3 available at the moment, and more to follow over the coming months. And our prospectus is available as a digital version this year, so students can hopefully very easily find the information they're looking for by browsing online. And also, you may have received our monthly e-zine, the first of which went in October, and we'll have one to follow the first week of each month. And this will be our main way of keeping in touch with you and sharing any new initiatives. If there's anything you'd like us to address in these e-zines or in future webinars, please do send us through that feedback. We love to hear it. Okay, so I will end this presentation, and if Tom is available, I'll hand over to Tom to give us an introduction to global media.
Hi everybody, sorry about that. I forgot to unmute myself. So I think after 6 months I'll be used to it, but there you go. Hopefully you can see my screen now just in 1 second when I share it. So I'm just going to play a video first to It's only about a minute long.
It prepares you for specialist careers in the technology. This globally focused degree offers you a wide degree of choice. It prepares you for specialist careers in the technology and creative media industries. You will be able to choose specialisms in media production and journalism, creative coding and web media, and film studies. You can spend a year abroad or do an internship in your third year. You'll be able to take a range of exciting modules such as podcasting, writing for the news media, magazines, sports reporting, web media, creative coding, data storytelling, and visualization. You will have a direct entry into master's programs in journalism, sports journalism, and global media. You will be ready for exciting careers in technology companies, social media and content production, communication, PR and marketing, and radio, television, and the film industry.
So that was just a very quick introduction to our program, our new program here at NUI Galway. I have a few slides I'll just play in a minute, but just to give you an overview, this new program, BA Global Media, really is responding to industry demands, and we spend a lot of time talking to the technology industry, the media industry, the communications industry, and one of the things we kept hearing were there's a real gap in the market for arts graduates who have strong communication skills, technical skills, and that's what this program is really responding to. So I'll just get straight into the PowerPoint here. Hopefully you can all see that. As I said, it's directly responding to industry needs and market demand, and we're really looking at preparing graduates for specialist careers in digital communications and in the wider creative media and technology. So if you think about jobs in organizations like LinkedIn or Google or Facebook and so on, it's bringing together the data, the creative coding, and the art specialisms. Students who have languages, for example, or media, along with those kinds of other hard skills. That's really what this program is about. And elective offerings include media production and journalism, creative coding and web media, film studies. There'll be opportunities to do data as well and things like that. It's very much a liberal arts degree, so it follows the same pattern as every other arts degree here in Galway, where there's a wide degree of choice. And we're offering, obviously subject to meeting criteria at the end of the degree, direct entry on this program into MA programs such as the MA in journalism, our MA in sports journalism, or our MA, a master's program in global media, which is a new master's program here at NUI Galway as well. So the outline, I suppose it's a 4-year program with the third year very much focused on a year abroad and or work experience. That internship year is quite important, or a language year. As with all of the degrees in arts here at NUI Galway, it follows a fairly common structure. In first year, students take global media as a core subject, along with 2 other subjects. And in second year, they choose to continue with global media, along with one of the other art subjects to degree level. So they do that in second year and in fourth year. In third year, there is a year off campus, either abroad or work experience, or a combination of both. The subjects that will be available to students on the denominated 4-year degree include information technology, economics, politics and sociology, history, law, philosophy, English literature, or any of the languages, so German, French, Spanish, and Italian. The first year outline is as follows. So in first year, they take 4 modules: history of media, introduction to media and communication, what we're calling digital literacy 101, and creative coding and web media. I'll come back to talk a little bit about what those modules actually entail just in a few minutes. Second year then is a number of theory and practical modules. So Power Without Responsibility looks very much at the role of media in society. Social media theory and practice is one of our most popular existing modules. It's packed to the gills right now, and it's exactly what you think it is. It's giving students really high-end social media skills around content production, verification, how to socially news gather, how to use social media professionally, really. Understanding media audiences introduces students to the idea of audience development and so on. And then the Golden Age of Television introduces students to television studies. And then in second year, students get the opportunity to choose between 3 specialisms. The specialisms are media production and journalism, creative coding and web media, or film studies. We are hoping to add a 4th specialism there actually before next September, which would be Commerceage or Irish language media. As you know, NUI Galway is really the home of Irish language media. We have quite a significant base of Irish language film production companies, television production companies, and of course TG Carr, based just out the road. And we work very closely with them already in our journalism and media programs. In third year then, it's a global experience year. So in third year, students will have the opportunity to spend the year studying abroad, or to do a work internship, or a combination of both. I can tell you that right now, students do about, in about a third of cases, students take the opportunity to do a year abroad. About 2/3 of students do a combination of both. So they get 1 semester of an internship and 1 semester of study abroad. So I think, and actually when I was a student myself, that's what I did. So I think it's quite a good mix. In 4th year then, it's really the capstone year. So in 4th year, again, there are some theoretical modules around media research methods, media law and ethics, and legal affairs. A module on gender studies, race and identity. You might have seen quite recently that NUI Galway, and I was involved with it as well, published a study around social media and misogyny of female politicians. And then the contemporary Irish media, so looking at how Irish media works in practice in Ireland. And again, then we have some pretty high-end production modules, so media production and web and journalism, creative coding and web media, or film studies. And our students can also do a dissertation in 4th year as well. So that's the breakdown of the 4 years. And what I want to do now is just, if you'll give me a minute or two, just to talk a bit about those specialisms, because this is really where the high skill comes in. I think this is really, from my point of view, I think this is where students will really see value. So media production and journalism is designed to introduce students to the world of journalism, of podcasting, of multimedia, and so on. And it very much prepares students well for postgraduate study in highly competitive MAs like our MA Journalism program or MA Global Media program. And the student can opt to spend part of the 3rd year studying media in the university abroad, or indeed working in a media company as part of an internship. And modules will include things like podcasting, writing for the news media, magazines, digital media production, and so on. The second specialism is interactive web media and creative coding. You might be asking yourself, what's the difference between coding and creative coding? Well, this is something that we're hearing a lot from industry right now. And let me give you an example. You know, we're hearing a lot from technology companies and so on that they can hire really great graduates who can code. But what they get with arts graduates who can code is they get that ability to actually solve problems and to think creatively. And not just to write lines of code, but to understand, well, what problem am I trying to solve here? Or what am I trying to create? So arts graduates very often are much more creative because they have that critical thinking that goes along with doing an arts degree. So that's our approach to coding here. It won't be that students will be data scientists or computer scientists at the end of it. But they'll have a very good understanding of languages like HTML, CSS, Java, and Python. For any of you that, I should say I'm not a coder myself, but for any of you that know anything about the internet, you'll know that that's effectively how the entire internet operates. So Python is very much the backbone of most databases. Data and visualization is very much built on Python. HTML, CSS, and JavaScript then would be the backbone of most web applications. So these are students who are graduates who will be well able to compete and work in these kinds of roles in technology companies, in media companies, and so on. And increasingly, we're all working in an online world. Web media, so writing for online, SEO, social media content production, that kind of thing as well. Community management and analytics, and then creative data storytelling and visualization as well. So that data is increasingly, we're hearing from our market research that employers are looking for good, strong data skills. And obviously, that comes into lots of different programs, and it's certainly we're putting it front and center of our program as well. The third specialism then is film studies, as I mentioned. So this is an opportunity for students to take a sprinkling of modules from the Houston School of Film and Digital Media. Our future development, we're very much hoping to be able to add an Irish language media or commerceage to this in the very near future as well. Along with taking this as a degree subject, so along with applying to this program as part of your CEO, you'll also be able to, if you want to, take it as a subject within GY 101. So it'll be offered as an art subject in the same way as history or English or any of the other art subjects are offered as well within GY 101 from next September. It'll follow the same pattern as every other art subject. I suppose the critical difference between doing it through GY 101 through BA Arts or doing it as a nominated degree is you don't get the third year, obviously, in GY 101, and you'll have a limited range of specialisms who undertake it through the arts degree. So if you want the full package, you need to do it as a dominated program, but there is a very good alternative through GY 101. And further study, as I mentioned, would include some of our own programs here. And we know now from research that 66%, so 2/3 of graduates now do a postgraduate degree. And we're seeing that from industry as well, where employers are actually looking for master's degrees. They're looking for the top, for the +1 year in engineering and computer science. And certainly from our point of view, we have some phenomenally strong master's programs here in these areas. Very internationally focused, very globally focused. So if you do this program, you'll have the option of direct entry after 4th year into one of these programs, subject obviously to meeting the minimum criteria around having a degree and a 2-2 and so on. Careers, as I mentioned, very much focused on employability. So tech companies, social media and content production, communications, PR and marketing, the radio, film and television industry, politics, public administration and public affairs, EU institutions. One of our very recent graduates from the MA in journalism, for example, is currently in Brussels on a 6-month internship with the European Parliament right now. She's working for them. So we do have that relationship with the EU institutions where students apply and so on. And NGOs, diplomatic corps and charity sector. Just a quick word on our facilities. We state-of-the-art media lab. We have a digital radio studio. We have podcasting facilities. We have a brand new 4K TV studio. You can see some of the pictures there. That's showing our work, ex-RTE with some of our students. These are some of our lecturers and part-time staff. So you'll see Keith Duggan from the Irish Times there. You'll see Eleanor Mannion from RTE, Roisin Healy from Irish Country Living, Conor Brady, the former Garda Ombudsman, and former Irish Times editor, is an honorary professor on there as well, and a few others. So just to give you a sense of the people who teach on our programs here at NUI Galway. And some of the student media on offer as well here at NUI Galway that students produce, the Galway Pulse, they work for Flirt FM, and we have an internal paper as well that students do, as well as the podcasting and Facebook Lives and other things. So that's it from me. Very happy to answer any questions now or wait until the end, whatever works for Sarah.
Thank you, Tom. That was really comprehensive. I know we're very happy to take questions now. We have a minute or two. I do see a question that has come in here in the chat, and you may not know the answer to this, in which case we can come back later by email. Can a student transfer in year 2 from GY 101 to GY 135? Is that something we know yet? Very
good question. I am hoping the answer will be yes. I'm working with our admissions people here. We would like to make that an opportunity at the end of first year, because first year will be common to both programs. And so we would certainly like to be able to offer that. There's a few technical hurdles to cross. I don't have a definitive answer on it right now, but we are working on that. It is possible in other programs, so we are hoping to be able to do that as well with this program. I don't think it would be a general free-for-all. It would probably be a limited number, but we are hoping to be able to offer that to incoming first years next September, where there would be a transfer, subject obviously to high marks and stuff. And sorry, one thing I forgot to say was as well, if any of you want me to come to talk to you guys, I'm very happy to do a guest lecture to your TY students or to your leaving certs or whatever works at any stage. I'm very easily found Sarah would have my details, or the admissions office here. I'm just Tom Fell at inuigalway.ie, or sorry, tom.fell at inuigalway.ie. And I do talks all the time to different groups. I mean, in the past, I used to go and visit. I used to like traveling around the country, but those days are over for the moment. But very happy to do that if any of you want me to.
Great, thanks very much, Tom. That's a great offer. I'll just see if there's anybody else has any more questions. Your presentation was very comprehensive, so I think it covered all the obvious queries that students might get. So feel free to put up your hand or pop it into the chat, or just turn on your camera and mic if there's anything you want to check before Tom leaves us. No, I think we're all good. Tom, thanks very much for your time. Much appreciated.
Okay, Sarah, thank you.
Thank you. And we'll hand over swiftly to Conor McGrady, the Dean of Academic Affairs at the Burren College of Art. Conor, are you with us?
Yeah, can you hear me okay? Yeah.
Yes, yep. Absolutely. I'm going to turn off mic now, just there might be some feedback. So happy to hand over to you now to introduce visual arts.
Great, thanks Sarah, and thanks everybody for joining this afternoon. So just to give you a little bit of context, I'm the Dean of Academic Affairs at Burren College of Arts, and Burren College of Art is an affiliate of NUI Galway. We're what's known formally as a linked provider. We, for those of you who aren't familiar with the college, we are a small independent college located in the heart of the Burren in County Clare. So we're about an hour's drive south of the campus in Galway. We were established in 1994, so we've been going a long time. And we've had a partnership with NUI Galway now. I think this is going into its 18th year. Primarily, that partnership has focused up until this point on the delivery of postgraduate education. So we have an MFA, we have an MA in studio art, we have postgraduate degrees in art and ecology, and we have the PhD. So we're very proud of this long, productive partnership with the university. So as part of, and we were really happy this past year to, one other thing I should say as well, like as a small rural campus, we are deep in the heart of the Burren. And in terms of scale, we are what I often refer to as like a micro college in many ways. We've got, at the minute, we have around 20 plus postgraduate students. We often have undergrads from study abroad programs, international students. But we're very small. It's a small footprint, so it's an intimate space, lots of workshop space, lots of studio space, and right in the heart of this environmentally protected area. So back to what I was saying in terms of visual arts at the university. As part of the university's platform to put creativity central in terms of strategic planning, we're really happy to work with the College of Arts to develop a new stream in visual arts in GY 101, the arts degree, the general arts degree, and also to launch it as a denominated degree in 2022 as a BA visual arts. So we're pleased to see that this has been given the go-ahead, and we're looking forward to launching it as a stream in 2021. So essentially, so just to give you an overview, I really enjoyed looking at Tom's slides. So you have to bear with me speaking rather than having any visual cues. But to give you a sense, visual arts will really add a core element to what's currently on offer in GY 101. So in terms of a well-rounded liberal arts degree, it puts the theory and the practice of contemporary visual arts into that mix. So as a stream in GY 101, it'll be a 4-year program. It'll run for 4 years. And it'll give students an opportunity to take practical modules here in the Burren. So we're looking at a series of modules that will be delivered on site in NUI Galway. They'll primarily be art history. So we're looking at a range of an introduction to art history in the 20th century. Given Burren College of Arts' environmental focus and an ecological focus, a number of those historical modules will also look at the history and practice of environmental arts, of land art, how artists engage with environment, engage with landscape, engage with place. So those modules will be delivered on campus at NUI Galway. And then we have a raft of practical modules that will be delivered here at Burren College of Arts. Our hope is, our anticipation is that will be on a Friday, so those will be consecutive Fridays throughout the academic year. And those modules will, they'll provide an introduction to interdisciplinary forms of art making. They'll involve subjects or techniques that many of you may be familiar with, for painting, drawing, photography. But given our sort of unique model here in the Burren, we'll also be bringing in modules in art and ecology, for example, how you work with the protected environment. So giving students an opportunity to really engage with the place, to engage with the rural landscape, to engage with environmental concerns. We have other slightly more experimental modules, which I think will be really fun and engaging for students. So we have one in walking as arts practice, so it's like how are you looking at the different ways to engage with place, the different ways to engage with the landscape. There'll also be modules that will be shared across the university as well. So students will have the opportunity to take modules that are shared with the Houston School of Film and Digital Media, with archaeology, and with philosophy. So in the context of some of those shared modules and the core studio focus and the historical focus, visual arts really offers a well-rounded engagement with the theory and the practice of contemporary art within the broader arts degree. So again, I suppose, and just to echo some of the things that Tom said, I think, in terms of, okay, the question, well, why take this subject? I think, again, some of the skills that students get from engaging with visual arts are highly transferable. I mean, we talk about the 21st century learning skills that employers are really focused on. And again, communication, critical thinking, which involves problem solving, collaboration, and again, core and central is the idea of creativity. I would also add that even though it's not listed as a core 21st century learning skill, I would also bring in this idea of empathy as well to a certain extent, because we have a big focus on, again, environmental concerns around looking at climate change, looking at the stewardship of the environment, or shared engagement with the environment. So bringing in that sense of understanding and working with place in that context is also an important factor for consideration as well. So so just to give you a brief overview. Again, it's the plan is, like I say, for the subject to launch in 2021 as part of JY 101, and then formally as a denominated degree in the following year in 2022. So I'm sure many of you may have questions. I can get again, I'm giving you a broad brush with regards to the modules, but I think it provides for a student who has a creative voice and wants to find and develop and expand that creative voice in the context of a liberal arts degree. I think visual arts provides a unique opportunity to do that. The other thing I do want to say about it too, this will, to the best of my knowledge, make the liberal arts offering at NUI Galway somewhat unique in an Irish context. I think usually in the country, visual art is tied into a 4-year fine art degree or a 3-year fine art degree. So taking it in the context of a broader liberal arts degree, again, adds to the experience of a well-rounded, holistic approach to engaging with arts, and is also, again, particularly aimed at, particularly appropriate for those students who want that rounded liberal arts experience, but also have a creative impulse, have a creative focus, and who want to develop that, take that further. So I suppose I could take some questions or leave it at that.
Conor, I see some questions just popped up in the chat. Is there a portfolio required?
At the moment, there's no portfolio required. I mean, I think what we're looking at is that students would just apply to GY 101 under the requirements for that for the degree. And then if a student is electing to take visual arts as a subject, we would require a portfolio of up to 10 images, which would then be subject to review for any student interested in taking the subject.
Great, thank you. Just see if any other questions come through.
Yeah. I know I ran through that quite quickly, but I hope, even though it's quite broad brush, I hope it gives a picture of yes, it's what aims to be a dynamic and exciting opportunity for students. Again, especially that opportunity to get into the workshop spaces, to get into the Burren, and to have that dialogue or that dynamic between the urban-based campus at NUI Galway and our rural campus here in the Burren.
Great, Conor. Thank you very much. We've been getting a lot of feedback, even in the first few weeks since the prospectus has started hitting the doorsteps of prospective students, and we're getting queries on it. So it is, I think it's going to be very popular. A question on the practicalities has popped up in the chat as well. And maybe you don't have the answer to this, it might be a little bit early, but we'll ask you anyway. Will there be a bus to the Burren College?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. I don't have a concrete answer to that at the moment, but we're looking at transport. Obviously, students need to be got to and from the campus on a Friday. So whether we provide a bus, I think public transport, it depends on the timing and how that aligns with arrival times in the Burren and departure times at the Burren. But transport is a core factor and will be factored in as well. So all prospective students, as more information becomes clear on that, we'll be communicating that.
Great. And a further question, I'm thinking it's on the portfolios. What type of images would be suitable for the portfolio, or any advice on that?
Yeah, I mean, we take, at the moment, we do portfolio review. We're looking at, it can be up to 10 images, it can be paintings, drawings, photography, sculpture, ceramics, film stills. I think we want to keep the process fairly streamlined and fairly simple. So again, if it's a range of work that shows skill, ability, and creativity among students, so it's but we're not really limited to any particular media as such.
We might provide some advice on that later in the cycle, so that students maybe have time to prepare it over the summer months. So that's something we can put on the course page as the detail becomes are more confirmed. A couple of other quick questions. Where is the college located in the Burren?
We are in Ballyvaughan. So if anyone knows where Ballyvaughan is, we're just off the N67. We're about a kilometre and a half outside of Ballyvaughan. We're right in the heart of the Burren and the rural landscape, and we're quite close to the coast as well.
Great, thank you. And a query in relation to, and I guess this is something that would be very important for students. Have you explored with the Teaching Council whether this may be acceptable for the teaching of art?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Excellent question. We are pending Teaching Council approval. Yes, the goal is to have this is to have Teaching Council approval, and that's a key USP for visual arts, both as a subject and when it starts as a denominated degree. This will allow students to teach in two subject areas, so visual arts and in the context of whatever other subject that they're choosing within the context of the arts degree. And likewise within the denominated BA, so they would be able to eligible to teach visual arts and whatever their other subject of choice is as well. So that approval is pending this year, but we're optimistic that that will be confirmed. Yeah. So again, I suppose the best we'll update you as we get that information.
Great. Thanks very much, Conor. I think we've covered, all the really key points there, and we may have a chance to talk to you again later in the year with other questions. And of course, at the upcoming Open Days, students will be able to get this detail and chat with you and your colleagues in more detail. Okay, Conor, thanks very much for your time. We might leave it there if that's okay, and we'll move on. And we're going to actually leave the Open Day virtual tour until the end of the session. We're going to continue with our academic briefings, And so I think we're going next to Professor Derek O'Keefe, see if Derek is with us, to brief us on a really exciting new development in the College of Medicine, Nursing and Health Sciences for GY 501 students, and it will be a stream option in year 3. So Derek, thanks very much for joining us. I'll turn off my mic and hand over to you.
So thanks very much, Sarah. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Great. Okay, folks. So nice to meet you all virtually. I would like to tell you about an exciting new program called the Physicianeer program, which we're actually launching today, even though we've been in development of it for the last 2 years in stealth mode. And it's a combined medicine engineering program that's going to launch here at NUI Galway in September 2021. So it's an undergraduate degree program. So you'll be awarded the MB BCH BAO, which is the Bachelor of Medicine, Bachelor of Surgery, Bachelor of Obstetrics, and then the BE, which is the Bachelor of Engineering. And I said, my name is Derek O'Keefe. I'm one of the program directors. I'm a consultant physician here in the hospital in Galway, and I'm also Professor of Medical Device Technology at NUIG. And I developed this program over the last 2 years with my colleague, Dr. Ted Vaughan, who's a senior lecturer in biomedical engineering here at NUIG. So I'll just take you through our presentation. So I guess this fundamentally is about creating better health through clinical innovation. So the idea is that we can have better clinical outcomes for our patients if the clinicians looking after them are more versed in the technologies that are out there. Because unfortunately with medicine worldwide, we often teach techniques and protocols that are quite old. You know, some things are 100 or 200 years old because that's always the way it's been done. And as we know from other parts of our life, from banking to shopping, technology is a big part of our day-to-day living. And we'd like to integrate that more into the traditional medical program, which I'll talk to you about now in the next few minutes. So then again, as a background, so who am I? Why did I bring this course here to Galway, and what's my own background? So I'm a physician engineer. I'm a physicianeer myself. So interdisciplinary expertise, focusing on developing innovative medical technologies for patient care. So it's this idea that, you know, medicine has a lot of problems and engineers have lots of solutions. And engineers tend to be quite analytical, logical, problem solving focused. And medicine is never black and white. It's always a spectrum of color and has lots of problems. So often then when you have these clinical problems and you have an engineering mindset, and you have the skills and technology, you know what can be achieved with technology, and therefore you can suggest solutions for your patients. And I'll give you some examples of that in a few minutes. But the idea of engineering and medicine combined allows innovation to happen. So again, my own background, I did electronic engineering first, went on and did a Master's of Computer Engineering, PhD in Biomedical Engineering, went to Harvard on a Fulbright scholarship, then did medicine, because when I was in Harvard, there's a program at Harvard, which I'll touch on in a few minutes, called the Health Sciences Technology Program. And first of all, in America, you can only do a medical degree as a graduate program. So it's after you've done something else in science or in arts or in engineering. And some MD programs in the States are more innovation engineering focused than others. So they try and attract undergraduates that might have done engineering. And one of them is this one at Harvard, which is paired with MIT. So students in that program often have done engineering in MIT for 4 years and then do Harvard, or there's a bit of crossover in some of the classwork. So when I finished my work in Harvard, I came back, I did my medical degree in Galway, really enjoyed it, and then went back across the pond to the Mayo Clinic in America, where I did my what's called general medical residency and then fellowship in endocrinology. So that's my own training background. So you can see a mix of medicine and engineering there. And then from that, obviously, as well as the clinical care of patients, I've been able to have a very active research portfolio in the last 15 years. Some of the more notable work I've done has been with NASA, looking to see how astronauts sleep in space, for example, using technology to address some shortcomings that they have. Using technology for digital health monitoring for the last 2 years. I did a TED talk last year called Digital Doctors, which talks about this frontier of technology and medicine and how things like remote monitoring and so on, which last year was almost aspirational, this year has become common in the care, as you might know, of some of our patients with COVID, when we can remotely monitor them at home to see how they're doing. So I'm just going to play this video example of a project I've been involved with for the last year that we we spoke about recently at NUI Galway. I think we released it about 2 weeks ago. It's called the Jedi Glove.
This is a new way of seeing for people with vision impairment or blindness. It's a way of seeing through vibration feedback in your fingers. The sound you're hearing is an impression of the vibration that she feels as she uses the Jedi Glove. So this glove gives you haptic feedback and allows you to feel the force of what's around you spatially. And that idea of feeling the force is a new way of seeing, as it were, for people with visual impairment, because they can move their hand around quite easily and build up a spatial picture of what's in their environment.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. You don't have to carry a cane around with you the whole time. You can just slip on a glove, and it's basically telling you that something is there in front of you, and then you just have to figure out what it is. I don't really particularly like the cane, and I'm on a waiting list to get a guide dog, so there's really only 2 options, or else just to link the people that you're with, your family and friends.
It was a contribution in a way of helping people in their daily routines. So yeah, it was a big challenge, and it was an exciting project to do.
Traditionally with research, we talk about bench to bedside. When something happens in a lab and it goes to the bedside to try it out. But what we're trying to do here at NUI Galway is do bedside to bench to bedside. So it starts first with the patient, with the problems that are important to them. And then we take the technology that we have to find solutions for those problems, which are often quite innovative because they haven't been thought that way before. And then we know what's technologically feasible. And then we push the envelope to make meaningful things that will help our patients.
Okay, so that was a project that I said, what happened was I came back about 18 months ago to my current post here now in Galway. And one of the first patients I met there, as you saw, was Sinead, who basically said to me that, you know, she found it very frustrating having gone blind at such a young age from diabetes. And, you know, doctors often talk about numbers like blood sugar, blood pressure, blood cholesterol. But when I actually asked her how she was living with her condition, she had mentioned that about the white stick being socially and physically awkward, the guide dog being on a waiting list for years. And she actually said herself, she said, surely with all the technology around, someone could come up with some way of helping me get around the house or navigate. And I guess that's what gave me the idea then, which is maybe went away and think about using this ultrasound technology with haptic feedback in your fingers. So like you'd have on a game controller on your phone that vibrates, the closer you get to an object, each of your fingers starts to vibrate in sequence. So as you get closer, all the fingers start to vibrate. So you can pretty much build up a picture of what's around you. That's a very simple example of having a patient problem, hearing the patient, and then having the skills to be able to go away and develop a solution. And we've had 3 or 4 other ones in the last year as well here at NUIG, including an NG detector. So when you put an NG tube in somebody and you don't know where it is it in the stomach or in the lung? You hope it's in the stomach because you want to feed them with liquid food, but you have to make sure it's there. So traditionally you wait for an X-ray. That can take 24 to 36 hours. That means for that period, the patient isn't getting fed. So again, my lab here last year, we developed a solution whereby you have a handheld controller, something like a television remote control that you hold over someone's abdomen that beeps to tell you that the NG tube is in situ. And there's other examples which I'll come to in a while, but I just wanted to highlight that to you to show you that kind of frontier of clinical practice, but having the engineering skill set allows a lot of innovative projects to happen for improved patient care. So then you might say, you know, combined degree, is that a new thing? Is that unusual? And the answer is no. So for a long time, medical degrees around the world, especially in Europe where it tends to be an undergraduate program, they often have an intercalated degree, whereby you might get a BSc in pharmacology as well as your BM, BCH, BAO. Here at Galway, we for the last 2 years had a program called the Medical Scientist Training Program, whereby as well as your medical degree, you also get a PhD as part of the stream. And so what we're proposing here now is a physicianeer program, whereby you do your medical degree and then integrated into that is a 3-year engineering degree. And just to give you, again, some background globally, so if you look around the world, you have places like Harvard, MIT, which I mentioned, has this kind of a dual track. Northwestern University in Chicago, which is an Ivy League college, would have a similar 7-year track, engineering and medicine. And then in Singapore, the National University of Singapore in combination, or collaboration rather with Duke University in the States, has a dual program as well. So the question then is why Galway, why now? And I guess Galway, as you might know, or Ireland in general, has a great track record of medical technology and the medtech industry. We're uniquely placed in the world to be a longitude of excellence for medtech. So when you think of the great places in the world that does medical technology, you think of California, you think of the longitude of Minneapolis, the longitude of Boston, the longitude of Berlin and Singapore. They'd be the main medtech R&D hubs in the world. And so Ireland, that has this rich industry in medtech, it's primed to have high value graduates in this area to be innovators at the bedside. And as you might know, the medtech industry, as I mentioned there, is quite huge in Ireland. 13 of the top 15 companies of medtech in the world are here. There's something like 25,000 people employed, about 8 billion in revenue every year. And then interesting things that you may not know, that like 50% of ventilators on planet Earth are actually built here in Ireland, which was actually quite useful during the COVID crisis, that a lot of them get made here in Galway. And then things like a third of all contact lenses are made here in Limerick, in the big factory, Vistacon would be one of them. So we have a very rich industrial focus of medtech for the last 20 years. And what we're looking to do is add another stream of R&D into that. Also, Galway itself obviously is a university with a long, proud history of a medical degree. It's a 5-year undergraduate medical program. And our engineering program here, our biomedical engineering program, was the first in the country. And that's traditionally a 4-year biomedical engineering program. And then specifically Galway, as I mentioned, as well as the university and the medtech industry, as a lot of them are concentrated here around the college. We obviously have a university hospital, which is co-located with the university, which allows great cross-pollination. We have programs here in Galway, such as BioInnovate. You may or may not be aware of that. That's a fantastic program that originated in Stanford, the biodesign program, whereby every year 4 graduates, so someone from business, someone from marketing, someone from engineering, and someone from medicine, they come together and make a team, and they follow around a clinical specialty for a year. So they might follow cardiology or pediatrics or GI, and they try to come up with R&D ideas at the bedside, as it were. Curam is the National Centre for Medical Devices is here in Galway, and we have lots of research labs, such as the TMD lab, that specifically look at innovative, close to bedside medical technology. So we have a rich ecosystem here to launch such an ambitious academic program. So this combined program, as I mentioned, it satisfies all the requirements of the medical program, so someone can be awarded licensure with the Irish Medical Council. And similarly for engineering, it was important to us that you also have all the requirements for the Irish Engineering, or the Institute of Engineers of Ireland, the IEI, because we wanted to make sure that the graduates had the competencies of both. And it's an 8-year program. So the first 3 years you do medicine with engineering. Years 4 to 6 is predominantly more engineering, and then years 7 and 8 are predominantly more clinical. And that's to make sure that the right balance of engineering and medicine is mixed in the two. Now, the important thing, I guess, from your standpoint, because you're at the front line of all the talent, is the admission pathway. So to get onto this program, people would have to apply for the normal medical degree in Galway. So that's GY 501. And of that cohort of first-year medical students, I'll have a chat with them in the September to tell them about what the program is and, you know, what the opportunities are. And then basically in the spring of that year, myself and Dr. Vaughan, the other program director, will hold interviews for potential candidates. And we'll likely select less than 5 people. So every year we get about 150 people into our medical program. And that's capped, as you might know, by the Irish government. Each medical school can only take a certain amount of students, and there's a HPAT entry and so on. But what we're looking to do here is having a small cohort, because we don't need everyone in the class to do this. There's likely only going to be a few every year with kind of the mindset of engineering and medicine. And what's fascinating is every year in medical programs, it sounds a bit nerdy, because maybe it is that every year there's 1 or 2 students that come up to us and say, look, I want to quit medicine because I miss math and physics, because you don't do that in undergraduate medicine. So we're fairly confident that that skill set is out there. Plus the fact that a lot of people in medicine have done engineering as well. So I referred to myself as a physician here earlier, but there's lots of them around. Even in this hospital in Galway, there's about 10 or 15 of them. So a lot of people do engineering, you know, kind of a practical skill set, and then go on and do, you know, medicine. A lot of them end up maybe in orthopedics or in interventional radiology and so on. So those kind of mindsets are out there. And what we're looking to do is to bring them in here and to put them in a very productive program. But obviously the kind of candidate we're looking for is the best of the best. They have to be really good at science and math and really strong, because we can't have them doing medicine and then struggling in medicine while they're trying to complete their engineering program. So they have to be academically stellar. So at that, I'll leave it. If there's any questions, I'm happy to take it. We have a website for this program, nuigalway.ie physicianeer degree, that just launched this morning. And on Twitter, my own handle is physicianeer. So if you'd like to see some of the med tech stuff I'm talking about, and indeed other examples, we recently launched a project last week with Harvard and MIT using your Alexa or your Google Home to triage your cough to see if it's COVID or not. And again, that's an example of, you know, a clinical problem being solved with AI and technology. So I'll leave it at that, and then if there's any questions, I'm happy to take them.
Thanks very much, Derek. I'll just give it a moment there and see if we have any feedback or any queries. Thanks for the great overview, and it's great to get the big picture of not only the course but what's happening in the industry and where the careers are of the future. So thank you for the really broad presentation. It's great for us to see. I don't think we have any questions, but the open day on Saturday will cover this pathway, so any prospective students will be able to find out more at the medicine stall on Saturday. And over the course of the year, there'll be lots of other events where the new pathway will be explained and explored. So there'll be lots of opportunities for your students to get familiar with it. It will be a new concept for them to get to grips with. And Derek, if guidance counsellors have any questions over the course of the year, I'm sure we can direct them to you for maybe further explanation. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's no problem, folks. Yeah, no problem.
Great, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thanks very much for your time, Derek. Okay, we have one more new program for 2021 that we might go to next, and then we'll finish up with a preview of the open day. So I'll introduce Professor Cathal O'Donoghue, Dean of the College of Arts, Social Sciences and Celtic Studies, to introduce us to the BSc in Agricultural Science, which I know is a much anticipated new program. So Cathal, if you're available, I'll hand over to you now.
Okay, just trying to share my slides.
Thank you.
Can you see the slides there?
Yes, we can.
Great. Very nice to be here, and thanks, Sarah, for inviting me and giving us a slot. We're delighted, myself and my colleague Charlie Spillane, who's co-director of this new program, to tell you about it. It's a very important sector in Ireland, and very many students from our catchment and across the country do agricultural science. I'll just tell you a little bit about it now. If I can get there we go. So agriculture and the agri-food sector are the heart of our economy, our society, our communities, major export sector. But the environment for agriculture is becoming much more complex, particularly in terms of sustainability. Agriculture depends upon the environment. We grow crops and have animals on the environment, but it also impacts upon the environment. And there is much higher expectations now about agriculture's interaction with the environment. Similarly, it's a global business and with reach all over the world now. And the chart here on the right is the share of the total food exports in Ireland over the last decade, and it's nearly doubled in that period. So it's the largest Irish indigenous sector, and it's one of the fastest growing sectors as well. So there have been a lot of job creation. And in the west of Ireland, where we're based, it's one of the it's a very important sector. What we're trying to do is create a program that can grow leaders for the sector into the future. It's been a while since we've had agricultural science at undergraduate in NUI Galway. I think we had our last cohort on the BAg science that we did with other NUI universities in 1979. And I guess since then we focused on graduate programs, PhDs and research. So we have a number of award-winning programs in agri-biosciences, climate change and food security, agri-innovation, rural planning that are already in the university, where we have students. We have a structured PhD in agri-biosciences. We have a lot of PhDs in agriculture every year. Within the Ryan Institute that Charlie is the director of, agriculture and bioeconomy is one of the key research themes. And we generate millions in research income every year as scientists from across the university undertake cutting edge research in the area of agriculture. In the QS rankings, we're the second ranked of Irish University in the global rankings for agriculture. And we have very strong partnerships with other institutions like Teagasc, that's the National Agricultural Development Agency, and global agri-food agencies as well. So our new BSc in Agricultural Sciences will start next year, first cohort next September. And what is our uniqueness? I guess, given the complexity of the agri-food sector, it's not all about animals and crops, it's about people as well. And so we're bringing both sides of the coin, the physical sciences and that you need to understand how agriculture and food works, and the social sciences to be able to interact with people to get things to happen. So we're trying to create a cohort of leaders that can provide leadership to the sector at all levels, from farm level up to industry and services and exports. And they need to understand, I guess, like the previous presentation in relation to medicine and engineering, people who want to be successful in the agri-food sector need to understand both the science of food production and they understand behavior and how people interact, which is what we do in social sciences. So to introduce ourselves, that's me on the right. I'm Professor of Public Policy and currently Dean of Arts and Social Sciences at the university. I joined the university 4 years ago, but I spent most of my career before that as a leader within Teagasc, leading rural economic development and agricultural economics. I had been CEO of the Commission for the Economic Development of Rural Areas. That has led to a lot of policy changes, including a new government department a few years ago, the National Broadband Plan and so on. These were all recommendations from our Commission. And I was a board member for 3 years of the global organization equivalent to Teagasc that leads agricultural research and development across the world. And I'm very active in research, particularly in agricultural sustainability. So I'm going to hand you over to Professor Charlie Spillane, who will talk me through to the content of the program. Over to you, Charlie.
Thanks very much, Cathal, and we're really excited to be here, both myself and Cathal, and thanks for everybody for coming today. I guess to paraphrase what Cathal's been saying, like this new program really is a key building block for us in the landscape of educational offerings we have in NUI Galway in relation to agriculture and agri-food, where we've, over the past decade or so, significantly increased our activity in the postgraduate arena, and this is I guess a key building block to complete that picture essentially. So just to introduce myself, my name is Charlie Spillane. I'm Professor of Plant Science here in NUI Galway. I'm also the director of the Ryan Institute. It's a cross-cutting interdisciplinary institute focused on sustainability across the university. And as Cathal mentioned, agriculture and bioeconomy is a central theme in that research institute. I used to work, I'm an agricultural research scientist. I've been working in that domain for about 30 years or so. I used to work for the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization and other bodies like that internationally before coming to Galway in 2010. So just to move on to the next slide, I'll step people through the various structure of the program. Cathal, could you move the slide for me? Because I don't have control of it. Okay, so okay, super. So basically, we're going to begin. This is the structure of the course outline, and what we have is we have an introduction to ag science with some core modules, modules focused on sustainability, food development, and then a range of electives for the students in the first year. And so this would be a denominated degree. So the students will enter as a cohort of students together. They'll have their classmates throughout the entire 4 years. It's not like they drift off into different directions. And then in year 2, we have a range of core modules as well: agri-biosciences on livestock nutrition and physiology, agri-chemistry. And then we have a key in our relationship with Teagasc. We're developing this program in conjunction, in partnership with Teagasc. The Teagasc Gathan Rye research site is central to this program. And so we'll be using that site, and also farm visits and other visits to agricultural sites in Ireland to develop kind of fieldwork skills for the students. And as Carl mentioned, it's not solely technical and science based. We also have a strong element of business and social sciences and economics, and then a strong narrative on environmental sustainability running through the entire program. In year 3, the students continue with core modules focusing on soil sciences. Then there's a program looking at international developments in agriculture. We will train the students in genetics, in organic farming and sustainable farming systems, and also look at forestry systems. And in year 3, then, a key point is that we have a placement for all the students, and we have a dedicated placement officer to ensure we can get high quality placements. That's a critical point of the program. What we've found over the years is that the placements really are, finding high quality placements can enable the students' careers. For some of them, it enables the first kind of a step into a work environment, and in many cases, at least for our postgraduate programs, many of our students have been kept on by the students, by the organizations that they've done their placements in. Then the final year is, we have a wide range of opportunities for the students, focusing on very contemporary topics such as climate change, plants and agriculture, agri-biotechnologies, genetics and systems biology, livestock science, crop science, agronomy, grassland systems. And then also we have a master's program here on agri-entrepreneurship. So we'll also try and inculcate, I guess, in the students an entrepreneurial and business orientated element as well. And then extension and communications are critical to the deployment and adoption of farming technologies and practices. So that's key. And then finally, the students will finish with a research internship project, which will be in conjunction, run by, co-supervised by our colleagues here in NUI Galway, but also colleagues that we have in Teagasc and other partner institutions. So that's basically the course outline, and it will, provide a very well-rounded graduate who will be adaptable in terms of their kind of career directions. We'll also have a strong career building element and CV building element throughout the entire program. So Carl, do you want to move us on to the next? So I mentioned the work placements and the on-farm study. So we're in the 3rd year, we'll have an ag internship, and we have a dedicated placements office within the College of Arts for that. And then we also have extremely good links internationally to top agribusiness companies globally, but also leading international agricultural organizations. I used to work for the United Nations as an example, and we work with a large consortium called the CGIAR. Both McConnell and myself have strong links to that, which has got agricultural research sites around the world. So we have, I guess, the potential to place students in locations and on projects and on topics and in contexts that are of interest to them in terms of their career directions. And so the 4th year project similarly will have options for doing work with our colleagues across the university, but also with Teagasc and other organizations. So next slide. So the USPs, I suppose, what's the unique selling points of a BSc in agricultural science? We're delighted to be launching this because agriculture has had a long history in NUI Galway. There may have been a bit of a wane over the past 2 decades or so, but it's on the kind of resurgence again. And right now, NUI Galway is very well positioned because our overall strategy for the university is very much focused on sustainability. Sustainable bioeconomies are central to the university strategy. And so a strong focus of this program will be on sustainability, but also the innovation aspect of agriculture. And as Cathal mentioned, we'll be focusing on people, animals, crops, and land use and interdisciplinary type of approach. Key focus on rural economics and jobs. And while it'll be taught in the West, it will have a global and national focus, and we'll generate graduates that can be competitive in any context. And we'll also, through our connections to our colleagues in Teagasc and also globally, the students will be exposed to kind of leading kind of thinking in agriculture and leading trends internationally. Next slide. The career structure, the slide really is just looking at what are the job options, and we've had like super successes to date with all of our ag programs at the postgraduate side anyway, in NUI Galway, and also we've had some pathways that have an ag orientation in NUI Galway, and those students have typically gone on to different types of I guess careers in both in the public sector but also in the private sector. Some have gone on to do consultancy work as ag consultants, and others have even gone on to set up their own kind of startup companies. And then on the professional side, the courses will have its approval essentially so that the students can take up roles as ag consultants, but also in terms of teaching qualifications with the Teaching Council. Next slide. So then in terms of future study options for students that want to continue beyond the 4th year, we in NUI Galway have a wide range of programs now at master's level and at PhD level. We have a research master's in agri-biosciences. We have a new master's in agricultural sustainability and technology. We also have a very popular master's on entrepreneurship, where people the students on those programs try and develop startup companies in the agriculture space. And we also have a very globally oriented program on climate change, agriculture and food security, which has strong links into developing countries and international development. Then we have the MA in development practice, which is a new program that's beginning, again, with a strong focus on international challenges and global challenges. And then we have the MA in rural futures planning and innovation, which really brings our colleagues from geography and across the social sciences, their focus on the agriculture and rural communities. Next slide. So the entry requirements, we are a grade H5 in 2 subjects and passes in 4 other subjects, and they have to have a lab science subject and any other 2 recognized for entry purposes. So we're hoping to get high quality students within our catchment and outside, and that want to pursue agriculture when our entry comes in September 2021. So this is really just a slide to highlight that the programs in NUI Galway to date in agriculture have had high successes in terms of the career outcomes and impacts of our students. These are just some examples. Grace Hoysted was a student we had on the agri-biosciences on undenominated degree pathway, and Grace did a PhD in the UK and is now a postdoctoral researcher. Paddy McGarvey was a student of ours that was on our agri-sciences undenominated degree and went on to make a startup company called Hexafly, which has attracted millions and millions in investment funding, which is about providing sustainable protein from insects for feeding for fish feed and aquaculture applications. Anthony Cawley is an example of somebody who has come through our programs and has become an assistant principal officer in the Department of Agriculture. Just as examples, there are many others as well that we could highlight. Next slide. So that's pretty much it. So we're happy to take any questions, and myself and Cathal are available to everybody at any point. If you have any questions in relation to the program, you can contact us by email or in any other way you wish. Yeah, so we're happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Charles and Cathal. Very much appreciated. Approximately how many places are on the program, or what are you expecting class size?
I think we're targeting 25 to 30 at the moment, at about 450 points. That's our aim. There are some limitations in terms of laboratory and field, but really we're more focusing on the quality of the student. We're trying to, I guess, grow a cohort of leaders in the sector, so it'll be that kind of scale to start with. We hope it'll be similar to UCC and UCD points wise.
And a question that's just come in there is relation to the maths and the level of maths on the course. Would you describe it as a high level of maths?
I don't think so. I would say moderate. Charlie, on the science side, what would you?
Yeah, it wouldn't be a high bar for maths essentially. Like what we're really looking for students that are motivated and with an interest in agriculture. And what does strike us is that there's a lot of students that come from rural communities, from agricultural farming backgrounds, that actually know a huge amount about farming and agriculture already, and the course can really build from their skills. So, motivation counts more than grades in my mind.
Okay, thanks for that. Now, it might be a little bit too early to answer this question. It's in relation to PLC or FETAC Level 5 QQI Level 5 courses. Is there a link to PLCs, and if so, which ones? Is that something that has been explored, or is that to be thought about throughout the year? Would you know, Cathal?
I guess it's probably the first time it's been raised with us. I know in arts, we have very strong pathways from the FE sector into our programs. I guess my focus since coming here has been to open up access and to allow for a variety of different types of backgrounds. So I think as a co-director of this program, we'd be quite open to people from different backgrounds. Really, as Charlie was saying, motivation is probably the most important thing. Some of my best students as a lecturer over the years have been students from mature students or from diverse backgrounds who were highly motivated and took their chance. So I think we'd be quite open to exploring appropriate links.
Okay, if I could just jump in there, Sarah, I know that Daniel Savory, I know Mary Liddy was copied in the email as well that I would have received about the PLC routes for this. So I know Daniel is looking at this, and I do think there will definitely be a route through PLC. We just need to identify appropriate courses, but we're very conscious of it, and I know that Daniel is working on it as we speak.
Thanks, Caroline. We will include the detail of it in the Guidance Counsellor e-zine as soon as the detail becomes available. Okay, great. Any further questions on the BSc in Agricultural Science? No, thank you for a very comprehensive presentation. I think you covered all the key question points in the areas of concern, and I'm sure you'll have a busy day on Saturday at the open day with lots of prospective students. I think we'll leave it there, Cathal and Charles, and if anything further crops up, we'll send your way, and if guidance counsellors have any questions, both Cathal and Charles are always very happy to take queries and consult with you, so don't hesitate to reach out. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So a couple of questions in the chat wondering if there's a copy of the presentation. Absolutely, this video will be made available after this call, and we may look to see what we can do in breaking it down into different course areas, so that if you wanted to use some of the presentations for your schools, we'll see what we can do there. And also worth mentioning that all the presentations for the open day, which Eilish is going to talk about next, will be recorded and will also be available for you to use in your classrooms if needed. So there'll be lots of ways for you to bring this into your classroom over the coming weeks and months. So another question, Cathal, while you're still here. Oh yes, I think you're still here, Cathal. Will the Ag Science students spend time in one of the Ag colleges?
There is a placement in third year, I guess it depends upon students' interests where that will be based. But that's a possibility, one type of placement. And we have a fieldwork course in second year that Charlie was mentioning, where we're working with colleagues regionally, including in Teagasc, to provide practical field skills. If there's a demand for it, we're very open. I mean, we think we have a reasonably innovative program, and I guess depending upon the interest of students and other stakeholders within the region nationally, we're open to change things slightly to accommodate as many interests as possible.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on to our final topic on today's agenda, and that's in relation to the Open Day. So our colleague Eilish Ní-Loinsigh has been leading on the virtual Open Day, and she's going to give us a quick preview now. It's the first time to use a virtual event platform, so it's quite a departure for us, and we're conscious that we're probably one of the first universities in Ireland to use a platform like this. So it will be the first time your students will have to navigate their way around. When we were identifying the platform, we were very conscious to choose a solution that would be very intuitive for, 15, 16, 17 and 18-year-olds. So I'll hand over to Eilish, who'll first of all talk us through the program, the activity that's planned, and then secondly give us an introduction to the platform, and we'll be happy to open up to questions after that. Thanks, Eilish.